Hi there. I'm Linda Kay Gifford. I don't know if that picked up or not. So, hi there. I'm Linda Kay Gifford again. And I am the survivor of 7 years of childhood sexual assault. And I am the author of Self Talk, My Continuing Efforts to Survive Childhood Sexual Assault. And very soon, I've got a trigger guide coming out about how to manage CPTSD, which is something myself and many uh, survivors of assault and neglect and abuse and guilt of any kind, survivor guilt, shame. Um, I work with people who have CPTSD like myself. Didn't know that was there. Um, and one moment, I'm going to turn my fan. Last week, we talked at length about disassociative disorder. I know some people call it dissociative disorder. You may choose either. I prefer the term disassociative because it implies a more complete separation. Um, and I see the way that survivors learned to disassociate as a complete separation thing. And what I've learned to do in my own life, and I've been teaching people, amongst other things, is to take take that same skill, the disassociative skill, and use it for good, not evil, in your own life. Um, Hang on a sec. I can't see. I have to plug a light in because I am guessing this is pretty dark. I like to do this on my patio, and you can't see very well up here. So Sunday school today, actually every day it seems like I end up doing what I call doubling down. Kind of turned into an accidental segment, the double down. And I will double down on God does not have a plan for you. Um, I will also double down on the fact that you can believe whatever you want to believe as long as you're not infringing upon other people's rights to do the same and live the life that they want to live. And so, one of the main topic of today's Sunday school is looking at culture and religion, continuing what we worked on in lessons last week, which is learning to examine your religion and examine the part of your religion that is God, the experience of God to you, and separating it from the part of your religion that is a cultural construct added in by others, generally men. Um, if you can separate these two, you can retain your spiritual connection to God and your cultural connection to your family. But when you're considering how to treat other people and how to vote, um, would you please remember that other people aren't you? They don't need to be like you. It takes all kinds, as they say. Um, I just don't understand why that is so hard, but obviously it is. And when we have so many women all over the world still, still trapped in cultures where their fathers are choosing who's gonna be in their vagina, or their fathers are picking somebody that to rape them, essentially. And this was an argument we had, and I'd like to have it. I'd like to hear what other people have to think about it. Um, if you are given to somebody in marriage and you cried because you didn't want to go, but that's the way it works in your culture, is that man who was given you guilty of rape? It's like, okay, legally, probably not in their world, but don't you think emotionally, don't you think emotionally so? So imagine how many women, and this is why I'm particularly upset. I am very progressive. I am very progressive, but I absolutely believe that you need to carry a big stick. because that's the way the world is. And we need to be in other countries. And I'm shocked and dismayed that we have completely pulled out of Afghanistan when leading generals say a mere 3,500 troop presence could have maintained the status quo and edged things in the right direction. And now we have just abandoned the women and children around the world, left them to male asshole devices, male assholes devices. It just makes me sick. It makes me sick. So I founded the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. Literally had already dreamed it up, but then when I caught COVID last year, last November, and my son asked me what I would do if I only had 2 weeks to live, I was like, I would get Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund solid. So that's what we're doing, and that's why I started live streaming on YouTube. I was started in on Facebook after founding Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. Please go to sweetsurvivor.com, which is also feelgoodfairtrade.com, my store of 4 years online selling women, artisan, family, and community products that we buy warehouse in Florida and ship to you just as fast as Amazon. So, but we're buying from actual artisans that, I can give you their email if you want to talk to them. You might need to speak another language, but they certainly are people that we actually have relationships with that actually are doing good in the world. And we have many of the products that you'll find at sweetsurvivor.com, also feelgoodfairtrade.com, are bought from groups that give women an alternative to sex work or have rescued victims of trafficking and given them an opportunity to learn a trade. So please check that out. That's how this started. That and my coming clean about the fact that I had been a child mistress, which is why I carry so much guilt and shame. And it's just really hard to lose, even though I have studied and had a therapist 20 years ago, and I have one again now that I go to for an hour a week, except right now I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff. So I've had to take a little pause, but I'm missing her, and I need to call her up next week, because working with somebody, having somebody you can talk to is very helpful. Because as I've said before, there's no survivor graduation. There's no graduation day. So if you're waiting, that's even one of the lessons. In my acronym SPADES, each one is an important part of this life management system that I use. I just literally outline the way I get through and manage every day and run multiple businesses, and write a book and grow this stuff and go out dancing. And oh gosh, I've got to throw in thank you, Jim Delaney, and your friends who gifted us a private patio at Riverport. It's not called that anymore, but I'm old. Whatever Riverport is called now in St. Louis, like where 270 and I-70 connect by the river. You know what I'm talking about? The big stadium. Yes, private patio. Go to my page, Linda Kay Gifford Facebook page, and I posted our private freaking patio. I'll post it on my self-talk page, which I've been trying to change the name of. I don't know why Facebook won't let me. But I'll tell you what. Yeah, Facebook banned. They won't even let me boost the post like I always do that I made this week, where I said, no, I will not respect your culture. That was banned. Considering what, I could put something up there about drinking the blood of children or something and that'd get through. But I don't respect a culture where women don't have the right to make their own choices. At that point, no matter, even if it's a woman justifying it to me, I see the brainwashing and the conditioning and the cultural bias, and it's like, it's not okay. It's not okay. Everyone makes the best of the situation that they have. And if you're a woman in a culture where when you speak up, bad things really happen, and you just speaking up isn't an option, yeah, you learn to submit. You learn to submit. Men love that shit. They like submission. But not all men. There are lots of good men out there. I'm raising 3. I'm raising 3 myself. I have found a great one. Um, couldn't be happier. And that was a real big surprise because I wasn't looking. In fact, I was pretty darn sure I was not ever looking. Yet still, when a connection is there, it's there. And you know how I would never have felt that? If I'd have been given away against my will to somebody and then forced to stay with them through a lifetime, would I even care if I had sexual experiences that were great? Would I even care about my orgasms? Who knows? If I never even wanted in that relationship in the first place, or at least maybe even if you wanted in because your culture says it's time to get married and you want to get married, whatever, but still, there's a difference between having a bond, a mental and a physical bond with a person and just having to make do and figure it out. I mean, so back to the top of what I was saying earlier, I can't imagine it being anything but rape when you're given to somebody and then what, you have sex with them on your wedding night. That's and you had no feelings of love. You did not pick them yourself. You don't even know how much you like them. Maybe you've met them. I know that there are lots of there's lots of room now, and I'm not slamming Islam by any means because the most Muslims I know actually are completely modernized. And while someone in the family may still accompany them like a brother or a male on dates and such, they still have the option of saying no. But I'm talking about in parts of the world where that's not the case. I'm talking about being in the Maasai tribe and being given away at 14 years old to a man who takes you and you cry and cry and cry for days. And then you're just happy he gets a second wife because now you're not all alone, stranded in the middle of the wilderness with just this man. And now he can have somebody else to have sex with too. And then they get a third wife, and there's three of them. And the woman says, this was on my Sunday school 2 weeks ago, and I want to reiterate because it's relevant here. When I said even the women who purport to like this, and this Maasai tribe woman was like, I feel sorry for you because you don't have sister wives. But her reasoning was because she was taken away against her will, cried, was raped alone until another wife came along, and then at the third, and then she said it was really good because now we can make more daughters because daughters can be traded to bring prosperity to the family unit. Anyone here tell me that that woman is not brainwashed and culturally conditioned against her own best interests? How could she value herself when she flat out said the reason to have more sister wives and why we should all do it is because girls are valuable. You can trade them. You can trade them. And in America, we can't even ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. It's been on the table since 1972. We can't ratify that, largely because Republican women and men, but women standing in our way. I don't appreciate making 87 cents on the dollar to a man because, as I said last time, if I had $100,000 a year income, you know, that's $13,000 difference a year. And I can do a lot with that. And a more normal income, let's say for average income would be at 50. Okay. That is still rocking a $6,500 difference in a year. That's a lot of money. It matters. It matters that we are treated equally. And if you can't get on board with that, and this is what I was talking about last night that I wanted to bring up, then yeah, the girl at the pool that I've known for years, who, pardon me, she's not involved. She's not politically involved at all. But I learned a lot last night after talking with her. She finally confessed that she's Republican, but she doesn't have any Republican ideals or values, nor did she know anything about what I was talking about anything going on. All she knew was that we stole the election and the insurrection was not an insurrection, that didn't happen. But she hasn't looked into any of it. She hasn't looked any of it up. She's just disinterested. And I use her as an example. It's so hard for people like me and you, if you're still here listening to this, to imagine that there are people that just don't care. I asked her, why do you call yourself a Republican? She's like, well, because my family told me I am. I'm like, but you don't expound Republican views. I take great offense to it, having multiple gender identities in my family and extended family. It's like, if you vote with a party who infringes on the rights of others, which is the title of today's Sunday school, God, I said, does not have a plan for you. And I also said that we have to reject the cultural constructs, the part of our religion that is a cultural construct that is meant to keep women submissive and others, meaning LGBTQIA community, intersex, non-existence, not existent. So I, I do not accept being submissive. Yet I see the world around me, and that is what I am forced to do constantly. So, my way of giving back to the world is to promote women artisans' products, to sell them to you fairly. I put the money back into sweetsurvivor.com and keep a roof over my head. I subscribe to my own charity, and I wish you would too, because $5, okay? If you want to do more than that, that'd be great. But can you do $5 a month? Sweetsurvivor.com. It's at the top. And everything else in that store now is going to support Sweet Survivor until I move Sweet Survivor to its own It has its own .com, but I'm moving it after I introduce it. I just wanted more people to see it, so I'm introducing it on my 4-year-old store. I always put up the wrong number compared to what I say. I don't know why I do that. So that's the spirit lesson. That is the spirit lesson we worked on this week, and it's appropriate to bring it back up for Sunday school. Let's go through all the lessons again. Spades. My guide, How to Get from Trigger to Happy, will be released on September 4th. My birthday's the 2nd, and September 4th is the Healing Arts Festival here in downtown Springfield, Illinois, which I'll be emceeing. I was going to play, but I'm moving, and all kinds of stuff happened. So I don't know. I might sit in on a couple things. We might throw something together. We'll see how much time there is. But I'm definitely going to be there emceeing part of it, and I will be introducing Sweet Survivor, and I will be hitting everybody up to subscribe. So you can beat me to the punch and say, I already did when I get to you by going to sweetsurvivor.com and putting down. You can pick how often you want to do it. You can cancel anytime. It's got the hub right there. You can call me. You know me. I am actually the one that answers my phone. I actually answer the customer service line, and when people call me, they're surprised. They're surprised because I've been doing free counseling sessions because I just want to find out everybody's experience. I want to understand what you've gone through, and if we can work something out, I'd love to keep working with you. But I definitely want to talk to people once. But like usually, if you call an online coach or something, you get somebody else who's fielding things and trying to sell you, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm literally interviewing you for my book anonymously, unless you choose otherwise. And even if you choose otherwise, I'm not putting last names. It's up to you if I use your first name or not. If I recount anything that you've said about your experience, or we can just talk with none of that. Just want to hear it so that I have an understanding. The more I talk to people, the more I realize you're all doing the exact same thing I am. You've been doing the same thing I have. Those of us with CPTSD, we think we're freaks because of the blackouts and because of the ability to, like for me, it's so much easier to be on Facebook than it is to be in a room of people. Believe it or not, I'll not talk at all, or I'll inappropriately tell you my life story if you start to talk to me. But I have Asperger's, so there's that. Surprise, I scored really high in the Asperger's test, but it does explain a lot. When I saw my friend Jim Delaney when we went to Foo Fighters on Tuesday and got a private patio gifted to Jim, yeah. he's like, we hadn't seen each other in 36 years when we used to host the AM PM show together. Hi, Jim. Um, and we had so much fun. We were fighting. It took like 60 seconds to be past how the fuck are you and fighting in a good way. It's like, oh yeah, I remember how this used to work now, the AM PM show. So 36 years later, you end up with a private patio to Foo Fighters. Everything is going so beautifully, and I look around me and I'm like, I'm still not equal in my own country, and I've got it way better than most women in the world have it as far as equal rights and the ability to do things. But it's being threatened. It's being threatened within my own country, which is what we were talking about last night. This girl who thinks she's a Republican, even though she's obviously not a Republican. The good news is that she's not interested enough to go out and vote either. So at least she's a non-voting Republican who's not a Republican. But I don't want to sound like an extremist, but there is a civil war going on already. It's already on. If you don't think so, it is. So many progressive women I know are kind of like this Republican girl who they aren't up on the news. They don't know what's going on. I tell them things and they're like, really? It's like, it's surprising how many Democrats I know, Democrats who are women, don't know that the IRA was never passed or ratified. It's amazing how many don't realize that the right to an abortion has been stripped, and that in some states and many others, over 26 have it on the table to do so. It's shocking. We are going backwards. We are defying science. It's like, the scientist says that whatever, and then they get burnt at the stake. And 100 years later, everybody's like, oh, what a shame. What a shame. So-and-so got stoned, burned at the stake, drowned, whatever, because they were right. So we can't, I reiterate, we can't let the meek inherit the earth. That's what I would say for Sunday school. God doesn't have a plan for you. That's your job. You make the plan for you. God is a life force, spirit, energy. It's the part of your religion that makes you feel warm and fuzzy and good and hope and desire and love and lust. Good stuff. That's God. Children's laughter, butterfly wings. That's God. God is a tool, an entity, a noun, a solid thing, a spirit, a life force, a living thing, but conscious. Think about it yourself and decide if you think that you would like to follow a God who kills babies, even if it's in a holy book. We're going to kill all the firstborn, whatever. My God is not an asshole. I don't know what your God is, who your God is, but my God is definitely not an asshole, because then I would have a different name, and it was sure as hell wouldn't be my God or God. Yeah. The only one I call my God is my lover. And he earns it. So what I'm saying, and this is what we're going to be talking about all week. Okay. Spades. We're going to get to the bottom, and then we're going to go with that. We're going to go with the final S. But to recount, spades, S, the shame is not yours. And I work through actual hour-long lessons, half-an-hour-long lessons, to help you release the shame and the guilt and get it outside of yourself in such a way that you can keep it there. I changed my life that way, and other people are telling me that it's working for them too. So I'm really happy to share it with you. But not today. Go back and look over the last 3 weeks' lessons, Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're just all lined up on the playlist, and they go through everything in spades and those lessons and how to do them. So, shame is not yours. Guilt is not yours. What happened to you, even if you were a teenager, I was an adolescent turned to teen. I was groomed. It I wasn't raped until I was 14, but I was raped and sodomized the same night, and not even by my person who had been abusing me for over 3 years at that point, by his friend who was in from out of town. And then once he realized his friend had already raped and sodomized me, then he took over. But up till then, he already had me involved sexually with things, and I didn't like it. But I also, it happened at such a young age that it's mind-boggling. That's where the disassociation comes in, and that's why I get really mad and why I'm bringing all that up, because I usually keep it pretty offset. But setting the stage for, it's very it makes me angry as hell when people think that rape isn't a big deal, or it's something we should get over, or even a woman arguing with me that I shouldn't be telling people to call it assault instead of sexual abuse. I was raped for years as an adolescent and teenager. I was assaulted, and I've been taught to call it abuse, which lessens it like everything else. Try to lessen. And you think that by putting it away, you think you're dealing with it, but you're not. Swallowing it, not talking about it, every time it rears its ugly head in your mind, not thinking about it, pushing it away. This is continuing using disassociation in a negative way against yourself. What we learn to do in separating the past from the present, and the S in spades, is we learn to bring it out. So moving on. P, the past is not the present. We literally slip into a place where there's like, CPSD is something that comes on. You don't have time to think. You can't not do it. A freak out isn't on purpose. So give anybody you know with PTSD or CPTSD some slack. This crap just, there it is. It's like another video just started playing right on top of this one, and the person experiencing the PTSD believes it's real. They're in it. That trauma is real. So what you learn to do, I have learned to do, and I am teaching you to do, is to separate, to keep a grasp of both of those videos. Okay, you're in the experience of CPTSD, but there's still a halo that says this is the current time for most of us. Learning to grab that moment and that lesson, which I said I wasn't going to go into, but in brief, so simple, because it's so simple. That lesson is just, you state the obvious. You state what you see. Okay, I'm in this experience, but some part of me knows I'm Linda Gifford, and that's what I say. I'm Linda Kay Gifford. I say that's a wall, that's a door, that's a doorknob, that's my pen. It's 2021. Say everything you know, and you bring yourself. You separate and you pull yourself into that reality. So now you're looking at that CPSD experience that tried to take you over. But instead of jumping down that rabbit hole, look at the rabbit hole. I'll attach it to this, but I can't do it till tomorrow after YouTube processes it. But that's a good, valuable one. And a lot of people are watching it and getting something out of it. So don't jump into that experience. You pull, separate. So that's separating the past from the present, the P in spades. A, ask for what you want. Sounds so simple. It's the hardest thing to do when you have been raised to submit. Because you judge yourself by how other people think about you, how other people feel about you. Am I good enough? You have been full of shame and guilt and horror and trauma and pain. And if you're religious, oh my God, multiply that geometrically, because now you're ruined. And my dad was a minister, and I didn't, you know, I wasn't a holier than thou person, but I did believe I was ruined, which is why we need to change the language of society. So asking for what you want, instead of just accepting what is given, it's like huge part of what my entire title of today's Sunday school is about. You can't accept being given a husband. You can't do that. I literally got in trouble with the bus company because I was driving a bus one semester to save the money for the medical coding test and a new set of books, because the ones I bought to take the course weren't good enough for the test you had to have this year's, and they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'm like, okay, I get a $2,000 sign-in bonus. I drove a bus, and I meet the Somalian twins who are in junior high school, beautiful and tell me that their 9-year-old brother is engaged to be married. I'm like, he's 9. And then, yeah, so I schooled them for a while until their parents found out. Um, oh, even after that. But it's like, no, you don't have to be treated like a commodity to be bought and traded and sold and given away to bring prosperity to the Burma or what the hell ever. So I'm really, really back to what we were talking about earlier. By we, I mean I. Um, Pulling out of places in the world that need us is, it breaks my heart. So we're going to blow Sweet Survivor up. All of you Angel subscribers, I'm going to start bending over backwards. I'm going to you get 10% off my store, Feel Good Fair Trade, forever if you become a monthly subscriber and stay one. But I'll give you the discount right away. So the stay one is an honor system thing. I must do this because of the next step. 2, actually, the next step is D in spades. Don't wait to feel okay to be okay. As I said earlier, you're never going to be fine or feel normal. But guess what? Nobody does. Even the people that you think are normal don't feel normal because there's no normal. That's why people keep getting into these clusters and trying to belong so they can feel normal. Get over it. Everybody, be yourself and accept others. And boom, see how easy that was? Everything's fixed. Would that life were that easy? But it's not. So I need you to vote. I need you to support sweetsurvivor.com. And then we are at E, educate and advocate. And educate and advocate, the E in spades. It's because you don't have to do whatever. I am compelled to make the world a better place. Maybe it's because I had a minister dad and progressive parents. And I don't know why. I know people that just, they're okay to live till they die. I need to make the world better. And when I think about the people out there in trouble, I'm like, I have a store. Let's get people out of trouble. So I founded Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. I rolled it into feelgoodfairtrade.com right now. I'm super excited about that. I'm educating and advocating, but all of that is also, it's for me. I am being selfish. People think I'm selfless, but I'm not. I'm the most selfish person you'll ever meet. My orgasms are about me. My sex life is about me. It's also about you. Well, you. Though the one person, I'm not promiscuous. I'm a one-person person. I'm a one human. But yes, my devotion only comes, so to speak, after I am. I'm sorry, that was a total accident. It only happens because I am exactly who I am, and I don't give a damn. I didn't date for 14 years. I've been fine, you know. I kept a lover, but I mean, I didn't want a relationship. You do you. You. But I encourage you to separate your culture, your cultural influence, and the patriarchy's influence on your religion. Study that. Study your own religion. And remember that the reason you like the stuff you like about your religion is the good, fun, happy, warm, fuzzy feeling. Well, would you also like to have a relationship that includes mind-blowing, otherworldly experience, body connection? Because that is possible if you pick the person you're doing it with. And if you are seeking personal satisfaction rather than wondering if you're good enough for them. And that's what happens to us survivors. We're always wondering if we're good enough for everyone. As I said in my book, one of the hardest things is just walking in any room. I'm a nervous wreck. It makes no sense. People aren't looking at me. They don't notice. I mean, I realize these things. I've been schooled in these things. I've taken master's level courses in these things. Took an interview class where at the end of the first session, we went up to the front of the room and stood back to back with the person we were sitting next to. We were asked to identify their race, their hair color, whether they wore glasses or not, were they a man or a woman. We were shockingly wrong. We couldn't even tell if the person next to us was black and white half the time. That's how unobservant anybody is. But still, survivors just have this I'm trying to live up to it thing. So I am here to teach you selfishness, because selfishness is really the greatest way you can be selfless. Selfishness is the key to selflessness, and it truly is. Because when you only seek what feels right to you, morally, righteously, politically, when you don't ignore any red flag, when you are solid on your own, and you need to be solid on your own. Don't be beholden to a man for anything, or a woman, or anybody else. You need to learn to be solid on your own. If you're not, then you need to learn to work in that direction. And we've been talking about a book about how to do that, because it's so important. If you have no control over your own future, if you're in a country where you don't even have equality laws like America, where we can't even legally earn the same amount of money as a man yet. Thank you very much. Would you please pass the ERA on the table since 1972? Did I ever mention that? Oh, I think I did. So, educate and advocate. That's where we were at. And the S in spades, spirit, and that's what we talked about in our lessons last week, Tuesday and Thursday. How, and I've been talking about all day, how to separate your culture from your experience of God in the world. And this week we're going to focus on Tuesday and Thursday on what I was just talking about, which is why we're ending up there. And we are ending up how selfishness is the key to a beautiful harmonic world where like beings attract to each other, and everybody can do their own thing, and we can all agree to disagree and get along, as long as we're not ruining the planet, because science is science. Let me just add that in. Science, I saw this on Facebook. I reposted it. Try to paraphrase. They said science is not a fact. Science is a process of finding facts. So when the facts change, then that doesn't mean science lied to you. That means we learned more. Okay, well, we're going to do that. We're learning more. And by learning more about your CPTSD, you will get a handle on it. And I totally wish I had the time to go back into how dissociative disorder happens in the first place. But that's what we're going to do the week after next. And we'll be starting on it this week too. Actually, I think we'll roll that in there this week. Because it just keeps coming up with everyone I talk to. And it's also the biggest changer, the game changer, is when someone I talk to gets it and stops just thinking that they can never change or whatever, and then they make that snap connection between how they disassociate. Because many people don't even realize that they do it. You split into a character. I will be whoever I need to be to handle the moment. That's something even people that haven't been traumatized, especially good salespeople, whatever, can do. And I've been a salesperson. It's a thing. But when I'm supposed to be me, when someone wants to meet Linda Kay Gifford, and I had the great pleasure of meeting my partner's daughter this past weekend, and oh my God, what a lovely person. What a lovely, lovely person. Anyway, but still, I was like, who am I? Who am I? I know who I am. I feel I know who I am, but if I don't have a role to play, if I'm not selling you something or speaking or teaching or cracking jokes with the cashier or whatever. When it's who are you, I'm kind of like, I don't know, listen to my CD. It can say it better than me. So shockingly enough, I can also be the quiet one. Not very damn often though. Not very damn often. So I will talk to you on Tuesday and Thursday. I have so much more to say, but I always do. So I'm going to go now. Um, Happy Sunday. Jim Gorda Delaney, thank you again for the amazing night Tuesday with a private patio up front at whatever they call Riverport now in St. Louis for Foo Fighters. What a show. I didn't see a thing. I danced the entire time on the private patio after moving all the tables and chairs away because I'm me and I have no social qualms about looking peaceful or cool. I'm like, holy crap. And no, holy shit. I'm at a private patio, practically. There's like 7 other people came and went all night long, in a place that held 30. I'm like, looks like a dance floor. Like a dance floor. So I do encourage you to, right now, though, to lay low. I am going out, yes. I'm going to say one more thing. I was going to end, but my son and I kind of got into a little fight, my 16-year-old, little disagreement. And I have to say, on some level, he was kind of right, but then I also believe I'm kind of right. So what do you think? Give me your opinion. He was mad at me for going to a concert with tens of thousands of people and all when the younger children have not been vaccinated. My feelings at this point are I go everywhere I go with a mask on, stores, gas stations, whatever. But the people that came to that concert, like if I had young children at home, I wouldn't be at that concert. I would be too concerned about catching it. I would be on complete strict. So I am assuming that most of the people at that concert were either old timers like me or youngsters or somebody that had something figured out for the kids or I don't know. But at this point, I feel like I will continue to do everything I can and remain masked in any public situation that has children or the possibility of children being there. Um, but I do feel a little guilty. I feel like I might be wrong. I feel like maybe I was wrong to enjoy the private patio. Did I mention that as Foo Fighters Tuesday? Because I had been in Kansas City. I had been in a crowd of unmasked people in Kansas City. I could have contracted Delta. I could be carrying it and passing it easier than chickenpox, evidently, even though I'm a vaccinated adult. So I have to trust that all you adults are making the right decision. But I encourage you, if you have children, it's not time to get out yet. I have a 16-year-old who is vaccinated, and I'm quarantining from him just in case in my own home. So that being said, just want to throw that on there. Don't be scared that God doesn't have a plan for you. That's awesome. You get to make your plan. You get to live your life the way you want to. You get to decide who to marry. You get to decide what to do with your vagina. And if your daddy is thinking about who gets your vagina, your daddy's a sicko. I don't care what your culture. And I'll double down on that next time, Tuesday. So I'm sure I'm going to need to because someone's going to be pissed off. I have to move every once in a while just to avoid death. The price of doing good in the world. SweetSurvivor.com. Go subscribe, please, 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 please. Go subscribe, please. I'm good cop, bad cop. We need you. We need to get tickets for people to get them out of trouble. Okay? $5 a month. How hard is that?